Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith. And today, listeners, we've got a very special guest, Marla Martenson, and she is the mystical matchmaker. So we've got some great stuff coming up in the form of dating tips with our mystical matchmaker. Hi, Marla, how are you?
Hello, Lyn. I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on your wonderful podcast.
And where is it that you're based, just for the benefit of our listeners today, Marla?
I'm in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California.
Wow, excellent. So what time of day is it there for you?
It's 11:05 a.m.
Right. And here I am. I'm in Spain, and it's actually 8:05 p.m. here. So
okay, yeah.
Good 9 hours difference.
My whole day ahead of me. It's a beautiful day. We've got springtime, and there's so many roses in my neighborhood. Everybody has these big, beautiful roses. So I walk my dog and just have that beautiful aroma. And so it's gorgeous out here. Excellent.
Well, it's fabulous to meet you, and fabulous to have you on the show. We've got summer coming up, and I know that sort of off there we were talking about summer love, and wouldn't that be a good topic to get into and talk about in today's episode?
Exactly. Summer love. Well, doesn't time seem like it's just speeding up? It's just unreal. And one of my favorite self-help motivational speakers, Les Brown, he always says, life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. And it does seem like it's just going by. I mean, here we are halfway through the year. And I know a lot of singles make that resolution. Okay, this is going to be the year. I'm going to find my soulmate. And then, it's getting already up on Halloween and the holidays. And then you still don't have that special someone that you've been hoping to meet. So you've got 6 months left. And I don't like putting these timelines on anything. But we do, as humans, we kind of get these landmarks or plans in our heads because, I want to be with someone for the holidays or the new year and then Valentine's and all that. And it does make life, sweet to have a sweetie. It just puts like some icing on the cake to have someone special in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So some things that you can do for attracting your soulmate. I've written 5 books. I have 2 dating advice books and then 3 memoirs. So I've been a matchmaker for 17 years. And so I've really seen what singles can do to sabotage, also to call in their soulmate. I've heard it all, kind of seen it all, and developed some tips. And the first thing, so I'm assuming more women probably listen to this podcast, right, Lyn?
Yes, I think that's definitely the case, although I'm hoping that I do attract some men within the audience.
Yeah, so ladies, well, this goes for both, but women tend to struggle a little bit with self-esteem, whereas a guy like, for example, how many women, friends and stuff, will look at ourselves in the mirror and will say, hey, does my butt look big in these pants? Or, I need to lose 5 pounds and then I'll be happy. A guy never asks anybody that. They just think they're fabulous, right? They're not concerned with that. So we can kind of be hard on ourselves. So self-love, whatever you've got to do to turn up that self-love is going to be important, because when we meet people, we're meeting them on a frequency match. So, for example, I can use myself. I had a good childhood, but there was a lot of alcoholism within the family. I was bullied in school. So looking back, I kind of look at why for years and years did I attract guys who were verbally abusive or jealous or cheated on me. I stayed in the same pattern. And I don't know, and I'm still clearing. Now I'm in my 50s and I'm working on that with a shaman, with doing deep diving shamanic journeys with some plant medicine. I'm really been working on myself a lot to clear a lot of this stuff. And when we go back and kind of look at our patterns in our childhoods and see why do we do this? So for some reason, all those times that I get involved with these guys, and I got married. I'm on my third marriage, but this one's sticking because we're together 18 years. But why did I always get? So it was a frequency match. Somehow my frequency of not feeling good enough, maybe that the bullies would tell me, call me names, and that feeling helpless within maybe the family, seeing some destructive patterns there. So going back to clear some things, whether, there's a lot of spiritual modalities that you can do. I'm going to tell you how to contact me at the end of the show, but you can contact me if you need some help with that. But taking a look at that, because so many of us women will date actually the same guy. He's just in a different pair of pants, right?
I absolutely get that and understand that loads of women that I meet and train do exactly that.
Right. And it's so common, and it's like, what in the heck is going on? Might as well have stayed with the first one if I was just going to attract the same guy, So you want to do some modalities for that. I'll give you some fun magical things to get you started. But once you clear that, start clearing that out, start loving yourself, then your frequency is going to change, and those people kind of will spin out of your existence, and then the right people will spin in. And what's interesting is even just walking to the bank down the street, you'll notice, it's interesting because I'll notice all this work I'm doing on myself. I'll be somewhere, people will just kind of look at me. And it's not like when I was in my 20s or 30s and they looked at me because I was so pretty, right? It's not that anymore. It's like it's like my energy.
Yes.
It's my energy. So and I'll just notice, and even animals and stuff will start approaching you. Like they want to be around your vibe. They want to be around you. So something fun that you can just do. Let's say you had a breakup, or you're just trying not to think about somebody. I love to do this on a full moon. You can do it anytime, but it's kind of a clearing. And I like to do it in the evening. You can sit on the floor, or, wherever you want to sit. Make your space kind of magical. You can light some candles, maybe put some little statuettes of angels or Jesus or Buddha or whatever, and maybe some crystals around, and get a little cauldron or a pot or something with some sand or something, because you're going to burn something. So something that, you're not going to start a fire. It's not a big burning, and then take a little piece of paper, and you write the person's name on it. So let's say we're trying to clear a guy called Mark. He's just been, lingering in my energy field, and I really need to cut loose with him. And now I don't want anything to hurt him or harm him. I just want him kind of to spin out. So you'll write Mark on a piece of paper. And then you'll sit there and you take his name, the piece of paper, and you can say a little prayer. You can make up whatever you want to make up. And you can say, call in Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael, thank you for coming and cutting with your mighty sword, cutting any energetic cords, any energetic attachments between me and Mark. And let Mark's energy and Mark go back to anything that belongs to Mark that is still in my energy field, send it back to him, and clear me completely. For the highest good of all, under grace and perfect ways, amen. And then you take his name and you light it on fire, and you drop it into your little cauldron or pot, whatever you're using, and just let it burn. And I did this with somebody once, and I did it on a Wednesday night. And then then on a Saturday, I was texting with that person, and he said, oh, it's so weird, because I hadn't spoken to him in quite a while. And he says, Wednesday, you just popped into my head, and you've been there ever since. I have no idea why. So it was a nice little experiment, and I'm like, well, I know why. So I love doing that ritual. It could be with anything, friends. It could be with situations. That's something kind of fun that you could do.
I definitely think that's a great idea. Give somebody a practical exercise to do that's really simple like that to detach away from somebody that they know isn't good for them, or they know that there's no reciprocal investment from.
Right, right, and it's so hard. We get attached, and it's that oxytocin. It's a hormone that's released. It's kind of called the love hormone. When you make out with a guy, when you have sex with somebody, when you give birth to a baby, that's released to bond with a baby. It's like the bonding hormone. So, and that's where I tell the guys, be careful. Not to lead a woman on. If you're going to sleep with a woman or really be intimate and then you're not going to call her again, that's where you get stalkers. The women could go crazy because they think you get attached. I remember that happening to me when I was in my 30s. I'd be with a guy, spend the evening or spend the night. And I knew in the back of my mind, this guy is not the guy for me. But I was like already planning our wedding because, the oxytocin had been, released. So you want to remember that and be careful about that because you can get attached.
I do think as well, if we're in sort of like our negative feminine, I always refer to, being in our negative feminine, if we are in that space of lacking that self-worth and not valuing ourselves and not feeling good enough, that we then are usually likely to go looking for love through sex. And that isn't a good recipe for long-term relationships.
No, it's not. And even women, so I'm a matchmaker, and I had an incident recently where I had this client. He was tall, dark, handsome, wealthy, very charismatic. And he had a little bit of player in him because he could attract the ladies. So, he was looking for a relationship, but in the meantime, if he felt the woman wasn't his long term, he would still seduce her and sleep with her, and this one woman went ahead, spent the weekend on the first date and everything, and she said, oh my God, he's looking into my eyes, he's telling me that he's never had this connection before, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, yeah, the men want sex. Let's just put it bluntly, it's not their fault, that's how they're built, and they will say anything often to get it. So so don't just jump in the first date. You've got to wait and play it out and see what their intentions are and everything. But it's so exciting to think, oh my God, this guy, we have this soulmate connection, and that's my guy. But you don't even know the person, and that happens to all of us. So we've got to hold back a little there.
I absolutely agree. I'm always giving women that sort of advice. Know your value, know your worth, and if you know that, you can let him know you're interested, but let him invest at least as much, if not more, in the relationship before you cross that sort of intimate line.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I have another little ritual that you can do that's great for self-worth. So, water is programmable, and our whole body is mostly water, and we are the moon, we can notice that with the tides, and water is really something within us that has a lot of effect on us. And so you can take, I have a beautiful bottle with crystals in a pod of crystals in the bottom, and I can program those crystals, but you could take just a nice glass or a jar, anything, and put some purified water in it, and then sit with it and hold your hands. You're going to do like some energy work, and you're going to program the water, and you're going to say some affirmations, and just bring some energy through your crown chakra, down through the universe, through your hands into the water, and put love into that water. Just focus love energy into the water, and then drink the water. And it's going to, program the water in you for love, for self-love. And just do that every day, and see how you feel.
How long would you say, or would you say it varies from person to person that you'd think that somebody would need to do that? Would it depend on how much they are lacking that feeling of self-worth and self-love and not being enough? Or do you think there's sort of like over the period of a week that would be they'd notice a sort of progression and a shift in themselves?
Yeah, that would be great to say, okay, or even say, I'm going to do this for 30 days, and then do it whenever. You can do it once a week or whenever you feel like it, or you could do it every day. You're sitting there we should be drinking water, 6 to 8 glasses a day. So if you're going to have one, just put some love into it. Even your food, I'll put, because I'm a Reiki practitioner, so I will Reiki my food. I'll put my hands over my food and send it some energy, because we've got a lot of chemicals in the food and GMOs and all of that. And then the people preparing your food, you don't know if they were angry or have an argument or stressed back if you eat in a restaurant, so you can kind of clear your food, send some love to your food, even just a little quick thing.
Yeah, and people might think this might be a bit weird or woo-woo if they've not really been exposed to this sort of stuff before. But believe it or not, we're all energy, and everything is energetically impacted. So this really does work, this sort of stuff. And I think, a good example of that is if you can walk into a room and feel like there's bad vibes in there, then I think we can all relate to that. And certainly the opposite, we can walk into a room and think, oh, you know what, there's some really good energy in here. And that's happening around us all the time, isn't it?
Absolutely. You feel that. And there's a lot of anger in the world right now. If we watch the news, we see, even over here in the States, there's all these incidents of people like they going into McDonald's, and because they didn't get some free fries, they beat up the person at the counter, or, pull out a gun or something. They've been going kind of berserk, so there's a lot of anger. So you want to clear yourself, and just being kind. So I notice here we've got a lot of online dating and swiping on apps and all of that. And we kind of, I find singles kind of, everybody's busy, people get frustrated. And I notice that we kind of view people as kind of not even real people behind these photos and behind the app, behind the online service. And it's easy just to not respond when somebody reaches out, or ignore, or kind of be short with them, and just kind of, but if people can kind of go a little down into their heart and know that person, there's some jerks on there, or some people who are cheating or scammers, but in general, just try to send love to everybody on that app, and come from a place of, they're just looking for their soulmate as well. And if there's a way to send back just a little, you can have a set response that you already say, like, oh gosh, thank you so much for reaching out to me. You seem lovely. I don't think, after reading your profile, I don't think we're a fit or a fit for, romance or whatever. And you could just send that to somebody, because so many people get ignored. I've been on these sites for clients, helping them write to some of the women for my male clients. And I've written to a lot of them, and I only got one response. Then nobody even responds. And I thought, gosh, if I'm feeling hurt about it, I'm not even getting rejected. It's for the client. Imagine how they feel. So just try to bring a little more heart and love into your responses, and how the other person might feel, trying to connect. And that's going to bring a shift too for your energy and your frequency.
I 100% agree. I do believe in karma. You might not necessarily get, the karma back from the person that you give it to, right, but you'll certainly get it back from elsewhere tenfold if you always adopt, that loving strategy. And I always say, give somebody, if you need to give them some negativity, and they could perceive it as a rejection, then do it in the form of what I call a shit sandwich. In other words, give them some positivity, and then give them the bit that they're not going to particularly like in the middle, and then end it with some positivity, so that they receive it really well. So in other words, the shit is in the middle of the sandwich.
I remember that shit sandwich. I haven't heard that in a long time. That's good. Oh my God.
But it's it's a loving way to respond to somebody, even if you're not interested in them. You're still putting it out there that you're coming, from a kind heart. And as I say, that would be received and given back to you tenfold if you always come from that place of being kind to people. Because especially men, I think, you know, they have to be the braver ones normally, because it's usually the men that you know that are left to ask the women out, and I think that's only right and proper in my mind. You know, I think it's good that traditionally men ask women out, and you know, so they have to be really brave, because I'm sure they have to sort of be quite tough to either get no response, or, you know, some of these rejections that are probably quite brutal sometimes to keep persevering.
I know. I remember when I used to go out dancing all the time when I was or a school dance or wherever, go to these dances, and the guys had to come up and ask the girls. And thinking back, I would say no to some of the guys, and then they walk away so dejected, you know. And it's so sad now to think back at that. It was, you know, like no. And I remember I even a guy asked. I think I was in sixth grade, and I was in the library, and this boy comes up to me, and he was kind of a nerd, and I just, you know, wouldn't be interested in him. And he says, will you go with me? Will you go steady with me? And then I was in shock, and I just, and at the time, it's like, if you said back then, do you like, oh, you like him, you know, like meant like as a boyfriend or girlfriend. And so then I just said to him, no, I don't like you.
Oh, you probably scarred him for life, Marla.
Oh my God. And then I thought but I didn't know what to say. And then, you know, so crafting, so even like our 10-year-old self, you know, we have to go through those things. So crafting something, take a little time to craft your rejection, you know, sentence to the shit sandwich. That will be good homework for everybody.
Yeah, and nice, you know, nice thing to do that you're energetically putting out there in the universe, that's going to say be repaid back to you tenfold in what you receive back. So you know, I do believe that.
Exactly.
So what do you think are some other good tips for getting ready to attract the right person, Marla?
Right. Well, so let me talk about this. Photos. Photos are so important. I go on social media a lot, and I've been on the dating sites for my clients and friends, helping them. And I see the worst photos imaginable. Photos with sunglasses, hats, side views, out of focus, far, weird poses, selfies with weird angles. Other people in the photo. I saw one man, he was, you know, older age range, maybe 60s. And he was like, just showed the side of his unshaven face, and he's holding a baby in his arms, probably his grandchild. You know, what a turnoff. So take the time to either get professional photos. There's photographers out there who will do a photo shoot, you know, very inexpensive, or have a friend take their iPhone or good quality phone or camera and shoot a bunch of pictures. And, you know, you can just delete the ones you don't like, and you touch them up a little if you need to brighten it with. I always tell people they can send me their photos. My email is marla@marlamartenson.com. And you could email me, send me your photos. I'll take a look and critique them for you for free. It's so important. And then I see on LinkedIn, I saw this guy who I actually knew from before. He was a former client. He had this picture of himself in a suit, but it was a selfie. And I looked behind him, and there's the shower head. So he's in the bathroom. Ugh. And so and selfies in general are not great. Just have somebody take your photo. Anybody, your mother, your child, anybody can take one for you, and just make sure those are good, because that's the first impression. People are shallow in general. We have to like what we see, whatever type that may be. Somebody, when you're single, you have this kind of image in your mind. Well, no, not my type, or my type. So you want to come across, you want to smile, look inviting. Ladies, guys, they don't have much of an imagination when they're out there dating. They're just, when they see something, they like it or they don't. So if you're putting out those pouty duck lips, or you're frowning because you're trying to look sexy or cool, they'll think you're unfriendly. Smile. I've had so many guys tell me this. Well, she doesn't look friendly. So you want to look warm and inviting, not too much makeup. It's interesting. Men will look and say, oh, I don't like so much makeup on a woman, not thinking that, well, if you're dating her, she doesn't have to wear that much makeup every day. You could always, you know, maybe it was just that one time, but they just assume she wears too much makeup. So, you know, less is more, classy. Don't show your whole cleavage, on the picture, but show a little sex appeal too. You don't want to look like a librarian.
No offense to librarians.
Yeah, well, the old version of the librarian.
Yeah, the stereotypical version that we've got in our heads.
The stereotype. No. But when I was working at a video dating service, I remember, so we had a professional photographer, and the singles would come in and I'd do their video, and then they'd get their photographs taken. And I remember one gal came in, and she came in from work. She was a professional, and she had like a suit on, a business suit, attractive gal. So she had pictures taken in that. And then there was another gal who had like a cute, sexy dress with a V-neck, showed a little, real cute. And that woman got picked all the time because the guys would come in and select who they were interested in, women too. And the lady that came with the business suit had hardly maybe 2 selections, because the guy, they, don't bring that masculine energy into dating, like you're an attorney or a doctor or a businesswoman, change into something more feminine, more inviting, a little bit of sex appeal, and you'll have a little better luck there.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that, because the whole of my my listeners will know this. My theme is around teaching and helping people understand masculinity and femininity, and quite often I think a lot of corporate women and professional women are still in that masculine energy space when they go out on dates or behind closed doors with their partner, and you know what? It's not attractive, because men don't want to feel like they're in the room with another man. And if you're exuding that masculine energy, what's going to happen? He's going to either feel that he's being confronted, and therefore that an argument might ensue, or he's going to, if he's not very strong and comfortable in his own masculine energy, he might step more into his feminine, and then you're not going to find him attractive. Exactly.
Great point. I had some guys will tell me, I don't want to date a woman attorney. I don't want to date a cop, because they said, I've met them before and they're just arguing. They come, and women, we have to be in our masculine in the workplace nowadays. We're working with all these men. We've got to be strong. But if you're going to go meet a man after work, take time, if you can, run home and take a bubble bath, or get freshened up and put on something more feminine. Maybe do a little meditation, listen to some music, and get into your feminine energy before you arrive. That would go a long way. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget that I had this one woman that I used to match up, and she was at the time, I think, late 40s, maybe early 50s. Every guy that she would meet would want to marry her. The first date, they would just go gaga. And I asked one man that knew her and had gone out with her, I said, what is it about her? What is it that all the men just go crazy and they all want to marry her? And he says, Marla, it's because she makes you feel like you are the only man alive, like you're the only person in the room, like so special. And she's listening, and she's attentive, and she's sweet and kind, and bringing that feminine energy. And they just, she had so many marriage proposals.
Do you know what? That's so important for, if you're a woman listening to this, really, rewind that bit and listen to that bit again, because it's really important to take that on board. I've experienced this myself. I've never had any problem with attracting dates or attracting proposals. And you know what? I know why that is. It's because, I am fully present, and I'm listening to the guys. I'm making him feel special, and all what you were just saying, Marla, about, he felt like he was the only man that could literally sweep me off my feet, because I gave him that time. I made the effort to look and feel feminine, and this is how you can reap the rewards. And it doesn't mean you can't ever be in your masculine energy if you need to. If you need to protect yourself in a dangerous situation, if you need to be competitive in sports environment, if you need to be assertive in the workplace, that's fine. But when you're dating or behind closed doors with your beloved, give him his balls back and take the trousers off.
Exactly. Yes. And I loved what you said, Lyn, about being present, because we're often checking our phone or thinking about something else we have to do, or but yeah, just being in the present moment with that person. And I found that I was doing that. I wasn't really listening to what my husband was saying. I was thinking of something else. I was checking my text, and it's just feels terrible. So put everything else aside and give somebody your full attention, and anybody in your life. And it's like, gosh, people aren't doing that now. You'll really stand out. People will really want to be around you because they feel so heard. They feel so great around you.
Yeah, I think that's what people are crying out for. They want to be made to feel special, regardless of whether you're male or female. I think, if there's any guys listening to this as well, particularly women do want to feel as though they're being heard. So especially, men, make sure you're giving her your full attention and being fully present, and listening, because women love it, if they feel like they're being heard. And men like to feel like they're being respected and appreciated, So if a guy does give you the gift of opening the door for you or pulling your chair out or paying the bill, make sure you appreciate that gesture, because that is really a really lovely gift of chivalry from him.
Yes, absolutely. It's so interesting, isn't it? This time is so confusing because women, a lot of us make more money than the guys. We want total equality, all of this. But then when it comes to relationships, we still want him to pay the bill and for him to, do all this stuff. We like that old-fashioned dynamic, which really does tend to work best because we are, male and female. We're made a certain way with certain hormones and certain inner roles that come out. Protector, nurturer, and all of that. So if we can kind of stick to those old-fashioned roles, bring that out, it works really well.
It does, because whatever has worked in the past, through ancient traditions, times, that's been passed on through wisdom, through elders, that's contributed to, what really is it that creates a phenomenal, passionate, healthy, fulfilling relationship. That's not changed since man walked the earth. The only thing that's changed is our society. And I think, unfortunately, in the name, I've said this quite a lot in some of these episodes, in the name of equality, that word has been misunderstood. Equality means equal opportunities. It means opportunities for everybody, regardless of gender, race, ability, sexual orientation, whatever. It means equal opportunities. It doesn't mean being the same as men. We're not meant to be the same as men, otherwise we wouldn't have men and women in our animal kingdoms. There'd just be one sex that reproduce itself all the time.
Right. And then I want to bring up, now we have so much conversation around people who are transgendered or gendered. I think they call it cis, or genders where, someone doesn't feel like a man or a woman. It's different, there's a lot of now different variations of how people. So the same thing applies, the same, maybe not the masculine and feminine roles, but the same thing applies in bringing your kindness, your compassion, your being present, how you're going to be personality wise. I mean, that's something for each individual, but I hate to, not include everyone there. I mean, the same principles will apply for everybody.
Yeah, I agree, and at the end of the day, there are definitely people that fall into that category of being transgender, or they might have been born with, the genitals or the internal organs of both sexes, and we know those people exist, and we need to make them feel welcome. We need to show compassion, and obviously we need to help them integrate into society and feel comfortable. But what I think has been misunderstood is that the answer to and the solution to that isn't to make us all feel gender confused.
I know. Exactly. Just, I think what the most important probably takeaway here is self-love. With all the things we were talking about first in the top of the interview is loving yourself. And if somebody else can't accept you, that's, they can happily go along their way, because I always say there's a top for every pot. There's somebody for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that. Absolutely 100% agree. So any more tips around dating online, Marla? Or
Yeah, online also, just, of course, be careful. There's somebody I was talking to that had a relationship like for months and months with somebody online and never met in person and didn't video chat, and they're convinced they're in a relationship. And just be careful not to fall into that. People can really get you with their words and their romantic courting online. You want to take it off of there. And I think a great way to stay safe, of course, you're going to meet somebody in a public place and not go to their home or invite them over early on. But I'm loving the technology of FaceTime and Skype, video chats. You can video chat with somebody. You want to make sure, is this person who they say they are? Because even in my matchmaking business, my partner and I have had a couple of guys want to join up. They say they're going to join and all that, and then we find out, like, this one guy, he wasn't even who he said he was. Of course he didn't come on as a client. But there are a lot of people out there that are kind of like these tricksters. I don't know what they're doing, but you want to don't fall so easily and check people out. So you want to stay safe. You want to have, of course, great photos. Like I said, a good bio. Don't be bitter on your bio. If you've, like, some of the women will tend to get angry. They'll be like, so if you're not, interested in marriage and this and that, don't even consider emailing me, like all this kind of stuff. It's like, whoa.
Totally from the masculine energy, that one.
Right. It's like they're already pissed off and, So if you need to pay for a professional to write your bio, do that. Can be very reasonable, and you can have somebody help you with it to shine, because you do have a lot of competition out there. It's like a competition, and usually the people with the best pictures and the best bios get the most responses, because there's just, it's like a inundating thousands of people, millions of people on there. So you've got to do that, and just have a positive attitude. Some people if you feel like you're getting burned out or frustrated, just take a break. You don't need to. Society kind of tells us, in a way, we have this pressure, like, you got to be with somebody, you got to be out there dating. You don't. You can take, like in the tarot, they have the hermit card, to be like the hermit and just take some time for yourself. Go within, go to a yoga retreat, or go do something nice for yourself. You don't have to be out there. It can get exhausting going on dates after date, and then you get kind of burned out. Then on the date, you're telling the guy or the girl all the disastrous dates you've been on, and it's like a competition who's had the most, disasters, and it spirals downward pretty fast.
No, not really selling yourself if you're saying things like that anyway, are you?
But it keeps happening, because I get the feedback from people on dates, and it keeps happening. Things will go. Also, beware of your alcohol intake. Women tend to be more lightweight than men, and after more than two, you'll really start spilling your guts on past dating disasters, childhood traumas, and all what medication you're on or whatever. And the guys are like, she has too much drama in her life, or she drinks too much, or they'll assume you've got a drinking problem when maybe you don't. You just had a few too many on that date because you were having fun and excited. People make snap decisions. They'll make first impression decisions about how you conduct yourself on that first date. And it's hard to turn it around. Yeah.
I absolutely 100% agree with what you've said. So how can people get in touch with you then, Marla, if you would like to give us your contact information? That would be great.
Yeah, you can go to my website, marlamartenson.com, MarlaMartenson.com. I've got everything there, my books, my services, my matchmaking, my coaching, my podcast, YouTube channel. Also, if you put in your email, you get a free self-love guided meditation. I recorded that in the studio. My husband's a composer. He put some beautiful music to it.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, it's about 7 minutes, and you could just listen to that, and it puts in the positive affirmations into your subconscious, and so you can get that for free. And
I might go and get that one myself, Marla. That sounds great.
For sure. It's beautiful. And I look forward to hearing from anybody if you have any questions. And I do energy work and some angel readings. So there's a lot of fun stuff to check out on my site.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that That's been really great. I've really enjoyed having you on as my guest, and I will put, for the benefit of the listeners, Marla's contact information in the show notes as well. So if you didn't quite catch that in the audio, then know that if you just access the show notes, you'll be able to get Marla's information in there. So that's it for today, listeners. I'm going to leave it there until next time. You know what I always say, true love starts with opening our hearts. So for now, until next time, goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.